You know how I spoke about Kohuluna last week about the one of the two energetic laws that we have in the universe? Today I want to talk to you about the second one. If this is your very first time here, aloha beautiful one. My name is May. I'm your neurospicy cyber witch here to support you unravel anything that has to do with witchiness, highly sensitivity, and or neurospiciness. And today I want to talk about the second. In my belief, there's two huge laws that create anything that has to do with energies on this plane. And the first one was, like I mentioned last week, Koholuna, meaning that the universe always, the law of attraction, how the universe always delivers on the energy that we send out, right? But there's still going to be moments where it doesn't work out, or it's not bringing you what you wanted. And I know this is like a little tiny thing in there. That's why I believe we need to understand how to direct the energies in the right way. Because if we micromanage the universe, then the universe might say no. And why does the universe say no sometimes? And here is the second law, which is for me, the understanding of the spiritual guidance, because there is something bigger out there that is, whether it's our higher self, whether you believe in yourself and the higher self that you have, and I'm going to call it the things that you want to live here on this plane. And that's one thing, but also, you never know if what you were wishing for, maybe there is a different way that is way, how I'm going to put this, that is so much better than what you thought of. I can manifest. This is something that I love. My very first online conference that I did back in 2017 in German. I remember that when I was thinking about this conference, because of course I was, I learned in an online school how to do online conferences, and I remember how they were saying you have to find these kind of people and that kind of people, and so that they promote your online conference, and then But the whole time that I was doing the online conference, for me, the most important thing was that I wanted to share the people that had influenced myself. I'm not saying I didn't go. I did go for a couple of people who were, also, had a lot of followers and stuff. But mainly, I was interviewing shamans, my Lomi Lomi teacher, and people who had, who had an influence on my life, because I wanted to share that. And I remember how also the people from this online conference school were saying, you have to set a goal for it. And for me, my goal was like, if I can just change one person's life, I know that I reached my goal. Because I knew what kind of interviews I was doing, right? So I did all the interviews, and I have to admit, it wasn't too bad, for my very first online conference, and for, the time that I had doing it, because then I had technical problems. And by the time I finally was able to promote the whole thing, it was just 5 days before, and we still got 2,000 people attending, which was an amazing thing. But the most amazing thing for myself, because I put it out there, I put it in there, and I followed the guidance because I felt like it needed to be this, right? I followed this guidance inside of me. And because of it, I remember 6 months later, after, the whole thing was already over, I remember a dear friend writing to me that she went to a course with someone that she had, learned from because of my interviews. she had learned of that person, so she went there to learn, and then she met someone else who had also, attended my conference, and how she actually got the courage because of this conference to change her whole life. And that was a confirmation that instead of following, the words of the people that were organizing it, instead of doing that, I was following my intuition that I had to, that was something that I had to do. And that's what I mean by the guidance from the universe. There's sometimes, there's things that I have tried and that haven't worked out, and I'm fine. I don't, I'm not angry or anything, because I know the universe has something better for me, and that's what happened. I remember when I was leaving the corporate world, I was angry, and I remember I was angry, and I was, with a lot of things, because there was a lot of things happening there. And I remember, because I actually had, friends of mine telling me, so, because it was the whole time around my burnout and everything. And a friend of mine was saying, but why don't you change jobs? And I'm like, but what if I change jobs? I'm just, and this is something that also for me came through the guidance. If I change jobs, I'm just gonna, take all of these issues with me, and, it's not gonna change much. And so I asked to be, not to be transferred, but something happened. My boss was exchanged. I'm going to say it that way, and I didn't want to work for the new boss. So I said, okay, let's. I found a different position within the company somewhere else. So I went there. And the funny thing was that a couple of weeks before I got started there, the sort of like similar issues already started arriving there. So I got the confirmation of, I'm not actually not, I'm not running away from this. I'm actually, going to have a different chance to heal that. And that's what I did. I knew that I was going to leave the company once I learned everything that I needed to learn. And, the anger that I just mentioned that I still had, by the time I left, the anger was gone. And this is something for me that was the guidance. That was a guidance that I couldn't manifest. And also, being with my teacher on Hawaii, I remember telling her a little bit about my, my spiritual journey, all the things that I've learned and where I've been and what I've done. And at one point she says, you have been very guided with everything that you're doing. You're very guided by your spirits. And I'm like, yeah, somehow I am. And I'm not saying, and I believe everybody has that guidance. The universe always is, like I said last time, the universe is always working on supporting us. And the more we allow ourselves to surrender to the guidance and not try too hard to do it. I think I've mentioned that my whole official business life started in 2017. I mean, I became self-employed before, but that was when I did it full time. And in the beginning, I was, there was a point where I had to start doing what I did for money. And that gives you this whole energy of lack within what I'm doing. I couldn't hear the guidance. I couldn't hear where I'm supposed to go. Instead of that, I was trying to and I'm saying it like this, for all of you listening, I'm putting it in quotes, trying to manifest, clients and the whole ordeal of everything. But it wasn't the right path, because it wasn't coming from my heart. It wasn't coming from alignment. It was coming from lack, and very strong lack. And it all blew up in my face in 2020. And, and I'm grateful that it did, because again, it reminded me, follow, surrender. You have to surrender. There is this part where we are allowed to surrender. And that means, having your overthinker head as us neurospices and learning to actually talk to it and actually do something about it, and learn how to guide your overthinking. And instead of overthinking it into something negative, learn to overthink it into something positive. And yeah, so that's why today's a little bit, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit different. It's more guided. I feel my guides are here and helping and supporting. And if you feel like connecting with your spirit guides, I'm inviting you to come join me on a Sunday. I'm doing, spirit journey, meet your spirit guide every Sunday at 21 Central European time. Sorry, right now it's Central European summertime. And then, yeah, I guide you through that because I know that that's one of the things that felt weird when I was in overwhelm in my depression, that I couldn't feel and hear and listen to my spirit guides. And so I help you by creating that space every Sunday for you. If you want to, it's for free. You'll find the link below. And yeah, that's it to that part. I hope it inspires you to find that spark, because it's a very magical part. And it's so magical because you can, once you start finding those signs and the guidance, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And it's yeah, I'm missing words on how to describe it best, but I hope it inspires you to listen a little bit into that direction, what you have already inside of you. And yeah, as always, my beautiful soul, be graceful with yourself. And if you have any questions to all of this that I'm saying, just reply to my contact details, to my emails, and let me know what you think, how you feel, if you're missing anything, or if you even want to do a one-on-one session with me, let me know. With that said, my beautiful soul, have an amazing week. And as always, give yourself some grace because you're an amazing human being.